Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com. If this is your first time visiting, feel free, make yourself at home, kick back, relax, put your feet up. It is not rocket surgery taking place here by any stretch of the imagination. We are just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. So we talk about board games and card games, role-playing games, miniatures games. What's going on your tabletop? We're probably talking about that. Every once in a while, we'll chat a little bit about PC gaming, pop culture. But for the most part, it's pretty much all tabletop gaming around here. If you are a constant viewer, welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me once again. It is Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. This is live stream number 615. Of course, let me remind you that if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. So it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my Kickstarter preview of Mesu, which is from Dragon Dawn Productions. I think this is it's in the final hours right now. I don't think this Kickstarter runs through tomorrow. So if you haven't checked out my preview, give it a peek. It's kind of an interesting solo game. It's a two-player game. I don't know. I think the mileage would vary on that. But as a solitaire game, I thought it was pretty cool. It's not a review, though. It's just a preview, so it does not get a review score. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Of course, this is a live stream, so that means chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. Sometimes the chat zips by pretty quickly. So if it's something you really want me to comment on, and I, don't say anything, please share it again. Usually I'm pretty good at catching things, though. All right, so first out the gate tonight saying hello in chat is Flaming Huron, one of our chat moderators. Clint Gibson is here, as well as John Vogel. John's thinking maybe there'll be some war game news tonight. I don't know. I don't know if we'll see the Madman tonight. I think this is his Gaming Wednesday. The Madman is our other chat moderator. So we usually have at least one chat moderator hanging out during each stream. So I've got a good collection of news tonight, and I am going to jump into it in just a moment. But I did want to comment. Someone had emailed me and said, Jeff, are your eyes green? I was like, what? I mean, not like, oh my gosh, why would you think my eyes were green? It was just kind of like, Why is somebody emailing me and asking if my eyes are green? My eyes are actually hazel. And I always kid around that my eyes are almost like like a mood ring, because if I'm like not feeling well, or if I'm maybe not in a good mood or something like that, my eyes tend to be very brown. But if I'm joking, laughing, they're really green. And if I'm just in, a really, just a regular mood, they're kind of greenish. So there you have it. I have hazel eyes. But yeah, it's kind of weird because sometimes they will look different. They will look kind of different. So Flaming Heron says, they got lost in your eyes. No, I think maybe they just noticed, because I do spend a lot of time looking directly into the good old Sony 6100A, or no, I should say A6100, that people probably notice my eyes. I have actually had people comment on videos that not necessarily that they find it like weird that I look into the camera, but it's kind of like, wow, it's like he's talking right to me. Well, what am I supposed to do? To like sit here through the show, like talking like this? I'd look like, an idiot. People would be like, who the hell's Jeff talking to over there? Does that person over there even care about the gaming news? What's going on? Anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. All right, let's jump on into the news, because Renegade Game Studios has a new edition of World's Fair 1893. It's coming exclusively to Amazon. I've got the scoop. The World's Fair of 1893 in Chicago was a spectacular international exhibition that showcased many great achievements in science, technology, culture, and entertainment. In World's Fair 1893, you can travel back in time and assume the role of the event organizers. You'll compete against other players to gain influence and obtain the grandest exhibits to be displayed at the fair. New edition? What's new? The World's Fair was an event that demonstrated what was considered cultural and technological entertainment. However, racism and segregation were an overarching reality, and African Americans and Indigenous Americans were excluded. The new Amazon exclusive edition of World's Fair 1893, which is currently available for pre-order, now includes a new group of diverse playable historical figures. In 1893, it had been less than 30 years since the abolition of slavery in the United States. Despite the progress of the African Americans, they were not given the opportunity to share their own accomplishments at the World's Fair. These 7 new playable historical figures were instrumental in giving African Americans and other disenfranchised groups the chance to highlight their progress and achievements. So included are Ida B. Wells, Frederick Douglass, Irvine Garland Penn, Fannie Berrier Williams, Susan B. Anthony, Frederick Law Olmsted, and Henry Ives Cobb. These are the new historical personalities that are included in this exclusive edition. Act as the fair organizer, increase influence, and obtain grand exhibits. The best reputation will win the game. World's Fair 1893 is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, plays in 30 to 45 minutes, and this Amazon exclusive edition can be pre-ordered right now for $40. The game is going to release on February 26th. There you have it. And I should point out, I do believe that I am going to have an opportunity to review this edition of World's Fair 1893. Although, okay, so I don't want this to come out the wrong way. But as someone who's born and raised in Chicago and has a pretty good understanding of the Columbia exposition. I can't even talk tonight. Hey, at least maybe we won't have any technical difficulties, right? Anyway, as someone who is pretty familiar with a lot of the Columbia exposition, I think Renegade's kind of like really reaching as far as including some of these historical figures in the game, because the reality is, like Ida B. Wells, I think Ida B. Wells, if I remember correctly, I think was just a signer of a petition to the World's Fair organizers asking for more representation for African Americans. Let's see. I think, if I remember right, I think Fannie Barrier Williams gave a couple of talks during the World's Fair. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just a little odd. And you know, I'm not saying that they shouldn't include it. I just have this thing, and like I said, I don't want this to come across the wrong way. And we see this a lot. You know what? I am going to go and sing, because this is actually a topic that I run across. And my good friend Scott Weigel, my high school pal Scott, is in chat. So is Rob German. Good to see you both. Welcome aboard. So I have to say, I don't want to say it's a problem, but I find it kind of weird when we see a historical representation in games. And you know, I am all for diversity, inclusion. You know that. If you watch this show, if you have followed the Gaming Gang at, you know, for a period of time at all in the now 11 years I've been doing this, you know, I am not a gatekeeper. I am a gate kicker down or kick opener. I want more people at the table, and I believe in diversity and treating everybody absolutely equally as far as whatever might set them apart out there in the world at the game table, whatever. But to me, when you start including, say, people of color in representation in historical topics that they were not included in, or they were excluded from, I start having a bit of a problem. Give an example. I saw a game. It was a World War I game, and they had they were American soldiers. This is important to keep in mind. They were American soldiers, World War I, and they had white and people of color just mixed in the companies, squads, what have you. And that never happened. That didn't even happen in World War II as far as integrating companies. And to me, I think when people just look to add like people of color into historical situations that are not true, then what they're actually doing is they're kind of soft soaping that whole period of history. And that's why I kind of feel weird when I see that stuff. Now, I'm not necessarily trying to, you know, pick on Renegade Game Studios, because the people of color that they do have in this new edition did have some sort of affiliation with the World's Fair of 1893. They just were not organizers of it. They were more on the fringe. And of course, obviously, that was not right. Just like if you wanted to see indigenous Americans at the World's Fair, you had to go next door to Buffalo Bill's traveling show, and that would have been your only experience with them. Although, if I remember, I think they did have some Eskimos. So I don't know, but I don't know if it's just me who kind of feels that when we see this inclusion of racial groups who were not part of something historically, it takes away from the fact that these people were excluded, that these people were persecuted. And that's maybe I'm crazy for thinking that. I don't know, but that's just how I kind of see it. In fact, I saw a game box not too long ago, and it was, I think it was supposed to be a conquistador, and they were Asian. And I was like, really? If you want to create a fantasy world, that's fine. I have absolutely no issue with that. You want to do an alternate history? Cool, fantastic. I love it. Having an Asian conquistador, okay, little odd. Anyway, that's just me. I know. I probably came across kind of odd, but I just wanted to share that. All right, moving right along. Let's get on into some more news. Anyway, I should point out, if you just were tuning in, I should actually have an opportunity to review this. So pretty cool. Because I think this originally came out in 2016, and I have never seen it. And I am a huge, I don't want to say buff of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, but I probably know more about it than the average Joe or Jane in Chicago. All right, so moving right along, Z-Man Games has announced a new edition of the tile-laying classic Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers. Here's what I know. A mammoth herd stomps across the grasslands to drink from a crystal blue river. Cunning hunters, I've got a cunning plan, my lord. Watch from the trees, waiting for the right moment to strike. Looming stone monuments, menhirs, encircle a peaceful forest clearing while fisherfolk set traps in a distant lake. Announcing Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers, a new edition of the beloved standalone Carcassonne game. Fish, hunt, and gather from the prehistoric landscape expanding on your tabletop, and compete with other tribes for claim over key natural features. Will you earn enough points to win? It's a journey to the past. Thousands of years before the people of Carcassonne built mighty walls and castles, prehistoric tribes roamed the land in search of resources to guarantee their survival. Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers combines the classic tile-laying gameplay of the original game with new thematic features and scoring rules. Instead of building a medieval landscape with cities, roads, fields, and monasteries, players place tiles filled with natural features like forests, rivers, lakes, and grasslands, claiming and completing them to score points. Survive the Stone Age. Scoring features will look familiar to veteran Carcassonne players, but with a few key differences that make Hunters and Gatherers a unique gaming experience in its own right. For instance, players can place a tribe member, a meatball, to claim grasslands just as they might claim a field. But grasslands vary in point value depending on the types and number of animals present. Likewise, rivers will score similarly to roads, but the number of fish in the river system will increase the points you earn from completing it. Forests that have menhirs, tall standing stones like Stonehenge, will also grant players a bonus. When a player completes a forest with a menhir, that player takes a bonus menhir tile, placing it and resolving its effect as an extra action. Menhir tiles can help you score bonus points on your claimed features or even drive animals from the grasslands with a raging wildfire. Place menhir tiles strategically to make the most of your bonus actions. Since Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers was first released in 2002, it's become one of the most popular standalone versions in the Carcassonne series. The new edition of Hunters and Gatherers includes all the same great gameplay, plus updated art and additional menhir tiles with unique effects. Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers is for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, plays in around 35 minutes, can be pre-ordered right now. I do not have a release date, but it can be pre-ordered for $39.99. I am a big fan of Carcassonne, the standard traditional Carcassonne. It is a game that I have introduced many people to the hobby of board games through Carcassonne. I have never played Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers. And I gotta be honest, we don't see it so much now, but there was a point where it was kind of like, oh my gosh, another Carcassonne expansion or add-on. It was like, my gosh, are they just beating a dead horse? We'd have stuff that came out which was like Carcassonne the City. I think I played that once. If I remember right, I think Elliot owns that, and I played it, and I was kind of like, yeah, I'll stick to regular Carcassonne. But I would not mind checking out Hunters and Gatherers because the gameplay is similar to the original game, but it sounds like there's some interesting wrinkles to it that aren't just chrome tossed on. Viper Dave had joined us in chat. Good to see you, Viper Dave. Thanks for swinging on in tonight. So I know John Vogel was thinking maybe there'd be some wargaming news tonight. And there is, because up on the P500 pre-order list for GMT Games is the World War II French Resistance game, In the Shadows. And here's the dope. In the Shadows is a two-player card-driven game about the desperate struggle of the French resistance against the occupying Nazi and collaborating French forces between January 1943 and June 1944. In the game, you'll play as either the resistance or the occupation in a fight over the hearts and minds of the French people. The game strives to have players better understand the nuances of the resistance and the clandestine nature of the fight that led to the founding of the Fourth French Republic. The gameplay of In the Shadows is driven by event cards and actions based on suits. The game relies on three different suits: the Resistance Cross, the Victory Cross, and the Iron Cross. Yeah, no swastikas, folks. To determine the cost and effectiveness of your actions. Narratively, this is meant to represent the vital importance of local networks and resources. You may be working with resources in Paris, but need to perform sabotage actions in Vichy. In this way, the game can better replicate the choices that the leaders of the occupation and resistance needed to make. The goal of the game for the resistance is to reduce the occupation's authority and recruit others to the movement. For the occupation, players will be trying to uncover resistance cells and make arrests. The game will end immediately if either the resistance has no presence on the map or the occupation authority reaches the point of collapse. In the Shadows also uses a resolution deck in lieu of dice. Represented as newspapers, a vital line of communication for the resistance, these cards allow players to resolve an action with the flip of a card. This unique system allows for a streamlined game that lets players focus more on strategy and less on luck, making for a compelling and quick-playing gaming experience. In the Shadows is for one or two players. I guess there is some solitaire action to this as well. It's for ages 10 and up, plays in around 45 minutes, and can be pre-ordered at the P500 price of $30. The expected MSRP will be $45. This has not made the cut yet. If I remember right, I think, and I might be off a little bit, I think it is at 315 orders, thereabouts, somewhere in that vicinity. So, all right. Wow, chat's awfully quiet. It's like, see, Great A's not hanging out. He's usually the one spurring everybody on in chat. All right, let's talk a little bit about some role-playing game news, because Cawood Publishing has another 5e monster book Up for crowdfunding. I've got the skinny on Monsters of the Wilderness, Oswald's Curse. Monsters of the Wilderness, Oswald's Curse is our fourth book in the best-selling 5e Monster series. It'll be our biggest yet, 140 to 160 pages with up to 120 new monsters. This unique collection of monsters will include dragons, giants, fiends, undead, fae, monstrosities, lycanthropes, aberrations, elementals, and beasts. Each monster will have a full color illustration, stat block, and bio. We'll also have new magical items, adventure hooks, GM advice, encounter tables, region information pages, events tables, location tables, CR and creature type lists, and more. Oswald Mir is a legendary wizard who has been banished by the Wizard Council. Damn you, Wizard Council! This crazy spellcaster has unleashed a curse on the world after opening numerous portals called Rift Gates. Oh, please, let's not have rifts involved in this game. Just a dig at Palladium. It's not a dig at Cawood. These openings enable travel around the world into other planes. However, many evil creatures from other worlds and strange, dark energies have come through the Rift Gates. The book is divided into 7 wilderness regions: ocean, Arctic, desert, swamp/jungle, counts as 1, forest, hills/lakes, also counts as just 1, and mountains. Each region has a wizard or witch from the Wizard Council and a monstrous titan. There is a short Kickstarter video from Cawood Publishing. Let's take a peek. The Monsters of the Wilderness Kickstarter launched, I think it was a couple of days ago. Maybe it was yesterday. You can reserve a copy of just the PDF for a $16 pledge, or get the hardcover and PDF for a $36 pledge through March 4th, with an expected delivery this December. If you have any curiosity about these monster books from Cawood Publishing, I have reviewed the first 3. So the most recent is Monsters of the City's Sins and Virtues. And that review is not that old. It's maybe 2-3 months old. If you're curious about this, check that review out. I have really actually liked these. I have liked these books. I think they're really well produced. Sure, the artwork's maybe a little different. It's a little more cartoonish. It's not overly cartoony. It's not like manga inspired or anything like that. I think these are good books. I think these are very cool books. And that is a very, very fair price for a hardcover and PDF. So there you have it. All right, Viper Dave is in chat with us. Did I mention that already? I don't know. I can't say. Melwinius from York is in chat, hanging out. Clint Gibson pointed out that they're delivering pizzas, listening to the show, and they'll chat when they get a chance. That is pretty interesting. I got to be honest, there are a few people who actually do stream the show like on their work commute, and they just listen. So on occasion, I've considered just taking the audio and putting podcasts up, but it's like, well, how many people are going to actually download this stream as a podcast? Count on two hands. Be kind of silly to go through that work. Anyway, these are very cool books, so I definitely recommend if you play fantasy role-playing games, doesn't even have to just be 5e. Definitely check this out. Take a peek. I think they're about halfway to their funding goal right now. So Melwinia says, the guy with the white beard looks like a warped version of Gandalf. Yes, that is Oswald. And it is Oswald Mir. And as you notice, the website is not cawoodpublishing.com like you would maybe think. It's World of Mir. So I wonder if it has something to do with that, eh? All right, let's move on to my final news piece because there is a new tale for Star Trek Adventures, which has arrived in PDF from Modiphius Entertainment. I've got the details on another roll at the dice. Experience time travel and engage Zinkethi raiders. Captain's log. We've been ordered to suspend our routine patrol of the Zinkethi border and proceed to the nearby Federation colony Natsumi's world, where we will take aboard 2 agents of the Federation Department of Temporal Investigations. As usual, the DTI has provided no details, stating merely that we are to place ourselves at the disposal of the agents and follow their instructions. Thus, I have no idea whether to prepare my crew to face some unimaginable existential threat, or, far more likely with the DTI, days of tedious routine and bureaucratic obstruction. When the player characters receive an assignment from the DTI to deliver a powerful alien artifact to DTI facilities, they're soon set upon by Zinkethi raiders. Spoilers! The ensuing skirmish destabilizes the artifact's energy field, and the players discover they have somehow changed into an alternate timeline version of themselves. Can the characters deal with the sudden changes in themselves and the rest of the crew, and also figure out how to get back to their own time, all while battling these Zinkethi? This standalone 20-page PDF adventure by Christopher L. Bennett is for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game, and it's set during the Next Generation era. Yeah, it would sort of have to be, because didn't the DTI make their first appearance in... Isn't it Deep Space Nine? I think it's Deep Space Nine. This adventure also contains advice for adaptation for use in campaigns based in other Star Trek eras. Download this also includes a regular version and a printer-friendly version. Yes, because for some strange reason, Modiphius Entertainment they just love to have the black background with the white text, which I don't know about you, I find very taxing on my eyes. So, but this 20-page PDF is available at Drive-Thru RPG for $4.99. Nice, very cool. Very cool. I'm glad to see more Star Trek Adventures releases coming out, because things have gotten kind of quiet. I think, what was the last? I think it was a Klingon book. It was like the Klingon core book, which was essentially another core rule book, but tailored towards Klingon characters. So, I don't know. I didn't know. Of course, talking about Drive-Thru RPG, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf site. So if you are going to swing over to, say, Drive-Thru RPG, please swing over to thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you do make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep the gaming gang around. I mention it quite often that it's usually what comes in from the affiliate for drive-through sites pays for the web hosting for thegaminggang.com pretty much month in, month out. And I have pointed out before that I don't have like GoDaddy $3 hosting because we have way too much traffic for GoDaddy hosting. I actually have a oh gosh, now I got to remember. It is a virtual dedicated server. Why couldn't I think of that for a second? I don't know. I have no idea. So Mel Winnie said that they had bookmarked World of Mirror to check it out. Scott says that the DTI appeared first in The Next Generation. For some reason, I was thinking isn't there an episode of Deep Space Nine where these two agents show up and it's almost like Dragnet, almost like Friday and his partner, whoever it happens to be, because I know the partner changed a few times during the series. Yes, it's Jack Webb and Harry Morgan. But the funny thing too is, if I remember right, if I remember correctly, the names of the investigators are actually anagrams of Scully and Mulder. So Scott says, yes, they always show up like Men in Black. So I have to mention that I did not watch all of Deep Space Nine. I watched almost none of Voyager. I think I watched like the first 2 episodes and I was like, eh. I watched 2 seasons of Enterprise and I actually liked Enterprise. Maybe I watched 3 seasons. I think didn't it run 4 seasons? Because I know I did not watch the final season. And then it got canceled and I was kind of like, well, what's the point of me catching up on the last season? But since we're talking Star Trek, right, and we've wrapped up with the news, I actually watched, when it first came out, I watched the first couple episodes of Star Trek Discovery, and I was like, just didn't feel like a Trek show. So I was talking to Elliot just last week, and Elliot Miller, my best friend, if you watch the show, you know he gets a mention almost every episode. And I was like, dude, have you watched Utopia? And he's like, no. And I said, I'm like, because remember, speaking about like science fiction shows and stuff, I have pointed out a couple of times that I'm a huge fan of The Expanse. I think The Expanse is probably the best science fiction show out there right now. Although this season, I got to be honest, I think there was a little too much focus on Naomi and those terrorists. I mean, Holden got almost nothing this season, which I guess isn't so bad because last season was really focused on him. But yeah, I think The Expanse is focused a little too much on Naomi and the Belter terrorists. I'm trying not to do spoilers here. Although I got to admit, the way that Belters speak irritates me. And here's why. I know I'm going to go off on like a tangent here. But hey, we're done with the news. We're just hanging out. We're talking, right? So The Expanse. The way the Belters talk almost in a, what would they consider it? I don't want to say Esperanto because that was a thing back like in the 70s. I know that Harry Harrison was, if you're a science fiction fan, you probably know the name Harry Harrison. Actually, I think Harry Harrison, if I remember correctly, I think he worked at Marvel at one point before he became an author, before he became a novelist, I should say. But Harry Harrison was real big into this whole, we should have like this universal world language. And I want to say it was called Esperanto. So the thing with the Belters, the way they talk is almost like it's English and another language almost, but the words are always in English. So that's what doesn't make sense to me. So the way the Belters speak is like they're combining two languages, but they only speak English anyway. So it's like a weird, like Jamaican accent. So Melwidia says, yes, it is Esperanto. Yeah, there was kind of a push for this like universal language, and it was going to be like English and Spanish, basically, a mix of both. So Melwinius also points out, yeah, Discovery doesn't feel like Star Trek, neither does the I Am Sorry Picard show. So anyway, back to real quick. I am going to enjoy the season finale of The Expanse tonight. As soon as I'm done with the show, I'll be watching that. So anyway, so I was talking to Elliot. We were kind of talking about like shows to binge, and I had told him umpteen times to check out The Expanse, and it took 2 years for him to finally give it a peek, and then he and his wife ended up binging everything that was out there. I think it was like the first, 4 seasons? So, oh my God, this show is so good. I'm like, yes. I told you for 2 years to watch this. So anyway, so I was telling him he should watch Utopia. Once again, no spoilers. Not because it's a fantastic show, but because it's kind of bizarre if you have seen Utopia, the pandemic that breaks out and what the actual game plan is, that's revealed at the end of the season. And the funny thing is, it's pretty bizarre because that was made long before COVID came along. So, because it's based on I believe I don't know if it's BBC, but I know it's a show out of the UK. I think they did 2 seasons of it. So Melwinia says, yeah, Utopia is nuts. Yeah, I told Elliot he may not want to watch it with his daughter in the room. I think she's 13. So I honestly I don't know what's like appropriate for her. Like my niece who's like 13. Yeah. Violence like that. Yeah. Cause it's mainly just gross out violence where even I'm sitting there going, do they really need to do that? Come on. Could have gotten that same thing across without being that gross about it. So anyway, so he hasn't checked it out. So I had mentioned to him, because he said, well, you watched Discovery, right? I said, no. I started watching it, first couple episodes, and I was like, there's so many things that was bugging me about that. Number one, the way the Klingons speak as if they've just learned the language today. And the technology that's available to them, but it's supposed to be like 20 years before the original series. So anyway, so Elliot says, hey man, you should really give it a second chance. So I have. That's what I'm getting to. I have given it a second chance. I'm just watching it and thinking it's a science fiction show. I am not trying to plug it into the Star Trek universe. One thing that I think is kind of weird is that sometimes they just have it's almost like, and once again, we have the weird like Kelvin timeline, and I don't know what's canon Trek anymore, right? After the movies. But I'm watching one episode, and the redhead ensign Tilly, I don't know her last name, throws a reference about tribbles out there. And I'm like, wait a second. Don't they not encounter tribbles until the original series, Trouble with the Tribbles. Isn't that the first time they've ever encountered tribbles? I thought it was. It's like, bah, 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 bah. So I thought it's all right. I think it's okay. I'm in the second season right now, and the overall arc of it, I'm not super keen on. I'm like, although they have introduced Captain Pike, who's actually pretty good, and I know they're going to do a Star Trek series with that Enterprise with Pike and Spock, and I think it's called Stranger Worlds. So anyway, so I was just kind of curious what kind of shows people are out there binge watching. I have to admit, I think Big Mouth on Netflix is hysterical, and I am using that word in the proper context because hysterical is not a word I throw around a lot. But I also have to say that if that was like a show in the or if that was a movie in, say, the late 80s, early 90s, it would be X-rated. So I know there are some people who really love that show. I know there are some people out there who despise that show. I think it's one of the funniest shows out there. And my favorite, if you've watched it, you know about the hormone monsters. I think the hormone monsters make that show. And I think Maya Rudolph's hormone monster, Connie, I think her name is Connie, it's just the best, especially when she screws up celebrity names. So one episode she's talking and she's talking about Daniel Dave Lewis. Not Daniel Day Lewis, Daniel Dave Lewis. Yep. All right. Scott says he's binging Emergency. Oh my gosh, that's a blast from the past. That's for sure. What are you watching? Me TV, Scott? Although I got to admit, my sister-in-law sits there and watches Mannix all the time. I understand Murder, She Wrote. I understand Columbo to some extent if people are watching that. But some other shows from the past, Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production, I don't see going back to that well to watch episodes of. Rockford Files still holds up, still really good show. Mannix, I don't think so. I don't think so. So, as far as Picard, Melwinius is talking about Picard, I watched, I think the first 5 episodes of Picard, and then I was kind of like, I wasn't feeling that either. It's like a bunch of characters that you don't know about and you don't really care about. And I don't know. I have no idea. And I know there's some big death at the end of the season. I have not watched it. I probably will finish watching it at some point. So I do not want to know who the big death is. So Rob German says, The Expanse. Melwinius says, I'm watching Star Trek Enterprise episode by episode while I'm doing weights at the moment. Still a series you can follow by the dialogue. I thought Enterprise was a pretty decent show. I thought there were some odd bits of fan service that was taking place in the series. But for what was it on, UPN or something like that? I mean, it was on a channel, a network. It's not even around anymore. So Malwinia says, yeah, you can't follow Discovery or Picard just by the dialogue. No, there aren't many shows like that you can anymore. It's all. Plus, it's kind of funny too, because if you've been around, you've seen film over the years, you've seen television over the years. It's gotten to the point where, God forbid, they leave a camera shot for more than 3 seconds. It's like, and then they wonder why people, young kids, have these developmental problems and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, because you park them in front of a TV with flashing scenes constantly zipping past. I think that's got a lot to do with it. This is me. That's my conspiracy theory. There you go. Not that anybody's trying to do it, but I think that like ADHD or HDR, DVRST, all those oddball kind of like developmental issues. A lot of it is from parking your kids as little kids in front of the television and using the television as the babysitter. Hey, it's a better conspiracy theory than saying that like Sandy Hook didn't happen. We won't even get into that. All right. So Rob says, Enterprise is good. I've got faith in the heart. Jeez. Yeah, that was not a good part of it. I thought that was kind of an oddball theme song. I have to say, I think the theme music from Discovery is pretty decent. It's a nice callback. Scott says they're recording episodes of $6 million Man for a future binge. Oh my gosh. After the first season, it just goes, jumps that shark. So Rob is quoting the lyrics to the Enterprise theme song. All right, so let's wrap up, because let's talk about the contests I've got going on. First off, this is the easiest contest I got cooking right now. If you have not checked out my review of Nidavellir, which is from Renegade Games and Hachette Games, coming to stores this April, by all means, check it out. Get in the running to win this copy in Shrink. All you got to do is be a subscriber to the channel, comment on the video, and I will announce a winner on March 1st. So you've got till the end of the month. All of these contests run to the end of the month. So also, we've got my Warhammer 40K Wrath and Glory contest. It's to win the core book. If I can hit 7,000 followers on Twitter, which I think it's like 200 and some away, I'm going to give away 3 copies of this book in PDF, as well as this physical copy in my hand. Also, another YouTube contest for Basic Fantasy. A lot of people have really liked this review. If you have not checked out the review, I highly recommend give it a peek. Go over to basicfantasy.org, grab the core book PDF, absolutely free. All their stuff over there is absolutely free. This is pretty cool. This is very cool. I am going to run some of this shortly. Anyway, the contest is if I can get 4,500 YouTube subscribers by the end of the month, I am not just giving this book away. I am actually going to give one lucky subscriber the entire print run of what's available out there for Basic Fantasy. There are 13 books. And as you can see, I have these books in hand, because that is the background I use. That's the material on the table that I use when I shoot my videos from overhead. So all you got to do, once again, pretty easy here. We do have to hit the number of subscribers, whatever. But just comment on any video and like a video. That's it. That's pretty much it. How much easier can it get, right? All right. So Ardwolf's Lair has popped in to join us in chat. Good to see you. Says that's a hell of a giveaway. I think so too. I think it's a pretty nice giveaway, but I don't know. It's not getting a lot of traction. None of these contests are getting much traction so far. So Rob says, does quoting the Enterprise theme song count as a comment on the video? No, it does not, because this is chat. Chat is not comments. You got to comment on the video, because some people do not watch the chat, or some people don't have access to the chat. If they're watching this show on a tablet or a phone, they don't have the opportunity to take part in chat normally. So that's actually the main reason why I sometimes repeat what people have written in chat, so that those out there who do not have access to chat know what's going on. Otherwise, if I was just answering to the chat, it would be pretty bizarre. All right. So, got 3 contests. I've got 2 more to go. Both of these are Dungeons and Dragons related. But if I can hit 7,500 Twitter followers, once again, it's not that far off, I will give away 1 copy of the standard edition of Dungeons and Dragons Candlekeep Mysteries. I have a tweet for you to be able to get in the running for this, because there's specific rules to it. You have to be a follower. You have to like the tweet. You have to retweet that tweet and tag a friend in that retweet. It sounds way more complex than it is. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I see a lot of people do contests exactly like that. That's what they ask people to do. Be a follower, like that tweet, and retweet the tweet. So basically, if you are not all that familiar with Twitter, you need to quote the tweet when you do a retweet. You have 2 options. You can retweet, or you can quote the tweet. You need to quote that tweet and tag a friend. That's when you put the ampersand, like Flaming Heron has just pointed out, in front of our Ardwolf's lair. So, anyway. So Ardwolf says, or Ardwolf's lair, I should say. L says, some folks are probably listening on their phone while driving or some such. I know my pal Herman Letman, I don't know if he actually listens to the show anymore because he's retired now. But when he was in New York, he has since left the state of New York, he would actually listen to the show while he was commuting. So, Malonia says, basic fantasy is a good OSR RPG. Yes, it is. That's why I really, really did like it. That's why I gave it such a high review score. All right. Anyway, Flaming Heron also points out that you don't have chat, but like at Ardwolf's Lair says, it's because you aren't watching the screen. Yes. Don't, and if you are driving, please don't be watching this. You can listen. Don't be watching. It's not that exciting. You're not missing anything. It's not extremely visually stimulating at the moment. All right. So my final giveaway is if we hit 5,000 YouTube subscriptions, actually, once again, not that far away, I will give away the alternate art version of Dungeons and Dragons Candlekeep Mysteries from Wizards of the Coast. So essentially what I'm telling you, you already know I get the review copies and I get the standard edition and the alternate art editions. That's what always shows up. So I am giving both of them away. Normally I just do a giveaway for the alternate art edition. So if we hit the 5,000 subscriptions, and that's an if, by the end of the month, all of these contests do run through the end of the month, and whatever ones we hit, I will announce the winners on March 1st, because that is a Monday, so there will be a show. Knock on wood. But I'm going to give my copies away. That is essentially what I'm getting at. I will give my copies away, and I will do my best to actually put it in people's hands the day it comes out. That I can't guarantee because I don't know when reviewers are going to see it. Because I get the feeling that this is going to be a release that comes out like right before it hits stores, because that has happened a couple of times with Wizards of the Coast. Normally, I get something and I got like 2 weeks before it actually hits stores. 10 days, 2 weeks. This, I get a feeling, this might be something that comes out like I get it a couple of days before it hits. I'm kind of curious about this release too. So, all right. So Flaming Heron says, yeah, sorry, I haven't done it yet, but then I have a PDF of Wrath and Glory. That's right, because I've done PDF giveaways, which strangely enough seem to be more popular than, hey, you want to win this physical book? Nah. Just send me a PDF. So Flaming Heron says it's not worth him winning it over someone who hasn't got it. All right, so that is it for tonight's show. Once again, let me remind you, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch airs live Monday through Thursday nights, right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my Kickstarter preview of Michao from Dragon Dawn Productions, which this is like the last day for this Kickstarter, and you can get this for $21 pledge, and I think it's at something like 700% funded, 700 or 800%. So definitely give the video a peek if you might be interested, and get on board that Kickstarter at the last moment. And of course, I will be back tomorrow. Flaming Heron says they got a copy because they had the Ulysses Spiel. Oh, so they got the new one. I was going to say, I know I gave somebody Wrath and Glory as a contest, because sometimes I'll like say, okay, you've got a choice of X, Y, and Z when I do a PDF contest. And I know somebody scored Wrath and Glory, the Cubicle 7 edition. Anyway, those of you who are watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate it. Just don't be watching and driving at the same time. You can be listening and driving. That's fine. Just no driving and watching. But I know there are a lot of people out there who don't have an opportunity to watch live. I really do appreciate anybody, regardless if you're watching live or on Memorex, who take some time out of their busy lives to watch me act like a goofball in front of the camera for about an hour. So thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate it. It has done a lot to keep me sane during this never-ending pandemic. And of course, speaking of the never-ending pandemic, I hope all of you out there are being smart, staying safe. I will be back tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day it happens to be when you watch this. See you later. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, if you'd like to subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel, by all means, click right here. And if you'd like to check out one of our recent live streams, click right up top. And if you want to roll the dice and see what the algorithm for YouTube recommends, click right here. And of course, thank you once again for watching. And gang, please stay safe and wear a mask.